I'm considering to quit this Power BI YouTube channel. I'm pretty sure that most of you have seen examples of the capabilities of different AI tools popping up here on YouTube or on your LinkedIn or Twitter feed. And we're basically at a time where you can ask these tools anything and they will give you an answer. So when you need a certain DAX formula, well, just ask an AI tool like ChatGPT and it gives you the whole formula with a step-by-step explanation. Or maybe you need a little bit of inspiration for your next Power BI dashboard. Well, ask a tool like Midjourney and it pops up something like this, which looks pretty good. So that made me wonder, are my Power BI tutorials still relevant? And do they add any value, especially going forward? Or is it time to quit? Or maybe it's still a bit early? Well, that question we're going to answer in this video. Welcome to How to Power BI. My name is Bas, and if this is the very first time for you visiting this channel, then make sure to hit that subscribe button to stay up to date on all of my videos in which I share everything I know about Power BI. Now let's see if I should quit this YouTube channel. Now, there are different AI tools that popped up recently and they got a lot of attention in the social media because not many people were aware of these tools. Especially ChatGPT was standing out there. And what we're going to do in this video is check them out, see if they're any good and if they basically replace my job here. Okay, now the first thing that I wanted to try out is to see if these AI tools can come up with a design idea for my next Power BI dashboard. Now, one AI tool that is able to do this is called Midjourney. So let's go to the website of Midjourney and try it out. Now I went here to midjourney.com and you get to this website over here. Now you shouldn't stare too long at it, so let's quickly click here on getting started. Okay, now here you have a whole guide of how to get started and how to create your first AI generated image with Midjourney. Okay, so just read through it, but basically you just have to join a Discord group and there you can ask your question. Okay, so let's do this quickly. So here we have the link to that Discord group. Let's follow it. And here we just have to put in our username and check the box that we are agreeing to the terms and conditions and click on continue. And of course we have to say that we are human. All right, now let's see if we can pass this CAPTCHA. So over here we have rough seas, here, there, and click on verify. Okay, we are in. Now here we have to go to one of the rooms for the newbies, which we are. So let's choose one of them. Okay, and then we can try it out. Now the whole explanation of how this works you find in the quick start guide, but it's relatively simple. So let's go to the Discord group and here we can type in / and then you see there imagine. Okay, so that's what we need. And then the prompt. So now here we can ask what it should visualize. So let's ask it to create a dashboard design. So I want to have maybe a minimalistic dashboard design for a car business. Okay, now let's see what it comes up with. And that took about a minute or so. And here we have our AI generated dashboard design for a car business. And we can have a closer look by clicking on it. And it looks pretty interesting. So you see nice color schema with the gold and the black, but maybe you want to have different variations and you want to have it in a higher resolution, no problem. You see over here these buttons below it, and here you can ask for more variations of one of the four. And if you want to upscale it and have it in better quality, you use those there at the top. Okay, but what if we want to have maybe a lighter color background instead of the black, silver, gold? Well, let's see if we can ask for a lighter design. So I'm going to repeat this step. So over here, imagine, and then we have the prompt. And here I'm just going to copy over the same question as before. So minimalistic dashboard design for a car business with light and bright colors. And you see we have some interesting designs again. Now this one is still kind of dark. However, we also have some light and brighter designs. Now the one here in the bottom right corner is very bright, Maybe not the prettiest ones, but it can inspire you with some new ideas for your next dashboard. So you see, a lot also depends on the question that you ask this AI tool. Of course, here it's also the question, can you replicate it in Power BI? But even that, we could also put in the question. Now let's type in again, imagine, and then the question, which is the same as before, so minimalistic dashboard design for car business. But now I want to have a Power BI dashboard. And maybe we go for not bright colors, but just with light colors. Okay. And there you go. We have some new designs popping up over here. So let's click on it to zoom in. And indeed, it is a little bit more in Power BI style. However, with the lighter colors, did not really work out so well. So we probably would have to readjust the question a bit further. Now, this is quite impressive. But the question, of course, is how helpful is it really? Because, well, the visualization types that it chooses might not be the most optimal one. And that's the same for where they are placed on the dashboard. However, other design elements like the color schema, the imagery that is being used, how it separates the visualizations from one another, well, from that you might get some new ideas for your next dashboard. And the beautiful thing is also you can choose any topic or any color schema, right? So here we did this for a car dashboard. But maybe you work in the shipping industry and then you get kind of a customized design idea for that industry. So that is really unique and could be super helpful. Now, of course, this is just the beginning stages, right? So just imagine in Power BI, we already have the option to automatically generate a report. Now, if you combine this with this type of functionality, that is really impressive because then you can just click on create a report, make maybe here and there some small adjustments, and then play around with different designs that are AI generated. So although maybe now we are just at the beginning, just imagine where we are in 5 to 10 years. Now AI can do much more than providing you with some dashboard design ideas. It can also help you write text formulas or write your custom M function. Now, let's pick 2 of my previous videos and see if we kind of could get to a similar solution using AI. I'm first going to use ChatGPT to give me a custom M function that calculates the net working days. So the number of working days between 2 different days, excluding the weekends. Let's see if it's capable of doing that. Now, here I already went to the ChatGPT website. So if you go to openai.com and then just /blog/ChatGPT, then you get here and you can just click on try and it will open it up. And that brings you here. Now I like dark mode, so let's switch to the dark mode. Now let's write our instructions to ChatGPT. I want it to write an M function in Power Query that calculates the network days, so network days between 2 dates. Okay, now let's press enter and there it goes. To calculate the number of weekdays, also known as network days between 2 dates, in Power Query you can use the following M function. Boom. And it starts generating the M code. All right, it's done and that looks quite impressive. And so here we have this whole code that I can just copy over with comments in between of what's going on. And well, let's just follow the instructions and see if it works. Okay, so over here, I'm just copying it. And then I'm gonna go here to Power BI. Now here I'm in Power Query. I have here a simple data set with start and ending date, and I want to have an extra column that calculates the net working days. So not just simply the difference between the end and starting date, but the difference between the end and the starting date, and then also exclude the weekends. And that is what a custom M function is supposed to do. Now to create a new function, go here to new source, blank query, then to view, advanced editor. And this is where we then paste in that code that ChatGPT generated for us. Now you see, no syntax errors have been detected. So that's already quite impressive. Okay, so no errors just yet. Now let's first see if it works and then we can go over the codes line by line. Okay, so let's click on done. And I'm going to give this function a name. So this is going to be my network days function. And then we can choose over here our dates. So over here, today is the 21st. I'm going to select the Monday over here until Friday next week, and then invoke the function. And you see, it doesn't work. Okay. An error occurred in the query expression error. 2 arguments were passed to a function which expects only 1. Okay, so you see, ChatGPT unfortunately failed, but maybe we can fix it in a relatively easy way. So let's see if this is possible. Let's go here to our function, advanced editor. And then here it starts with the input parameters. So start and ending date is date. That's good. Then calculate the number of days between 2 dates. So we have the duration in days, end date minus start date, plus 1 if you want to include the day. So that's okay. Then over here, the number of weekends it's going to calculate. Now the let and the end statement, let us break down our query into separate steps. So we have here the list of dates with the list dates function. That's good. Which starts with the starting date. Then over here, how many periods you want to add. So number of days comes from there. And then here the duration is in days. So that also looks good. Now the next step, that is probably where it goes wrong, because here we have the list.count function, which expects 1 argument, but it actually gave it 2 arguments. And that's not possible. So we have to take this part basically out over here. And then we have to first adjust the dates that we have here with the date list that only has the weekends, right? So weekends. Now, how can we do that? Well, over here, we need to use a function like list.select. And then we have a previous list, so date list from here. And we want to have as a selection function. Well, there we could use what it just created. Now, let me just copy that over. So Control V, that is our function there. And we need a comma there at the end. And what we then want to count, the weekend count, that is this list there. Okay, now you see no syntax errors anymore. And over here we can click on done. Now the function here returns 11, which is actually not correct because it should be 10, not 11. So we have to make an adjustment to the function. Now let's go back again, view advanced editor. And if you have a closer look at that function, date point day of week, you see it returns a number from 0 to 6. So if we have Saturday and Sunday, well, this should be not 6 or 7, but 5 or 6. Okay, because it's null based. Now let's click on OK. And a function now returns 10, which is the correct answer. Let's also see if it works here if we apply it for creating an extra column. So add column, invoke the custom function. And then here we have the project length in a network days. Okay, now we can choose a function from here. Then as inputs, we're going to have our columns start and ending date. Okay, click OK. And there you go. Now, seems to be correct. Now, so we have a function. Now, here, if we go back to the function in the advanced editor, now here you see that the function that we are using was mostly generated by ChatGPT, that OpenAI tool, which is really impressive. However, it was not working straight away 100%. We still had to tweak it a little bit. And to be able to make that adjustment, you probably need a little bit of knowledge. Or you need to Google a bit, trial and error, look at the documentation to get there. Okay, but that can be time consuming. But the main structure, well, that was given by ChatGPT. So I would say pretty helpful. Now the next question is, can we also use ChatGPT to write our DAX formulas? Well, let's have a look at an example. Now here I have some HR dataset, and the visualization that I created is a simple matrix that shows the total employees hired over time. However, these are the employees that are hired in a certain period. And what I want to have is the total number of active employees at any given point in time. Now, let's see if ChatGPT can give me the right formula. So I'm going to go back and let's start a new chat over here. And I already prepared a question for it. So The instruction is write a DAX measure that calculates the active number of employees at any point in time, where active is defined as being between the hiring date and the contract ending date. So you see, I'm quite specific. The more specific you are, the better the answer will be that you get from this AI tool. Okay, now let's run it and let's see what it comes up with. And there it goes again. Here's a sample DAX measure. All right, and it starts generating some code. So let's see. Now that formula looks already quite promising. And you see, it continues also with a whole explanation. So this measure uses the calculate function to modify the filter context of the current pivot table. That's a little bit interesting. It filters the employees table to only include rows where the hiring date is less than or equal to the current date and the termination date is either blank or greater than the current date. Okay, and then it continues. And of course, the code that gets generated here also makes the assumption on the table names that we probably need to adjust. Okay, but let's try it out and let's see if we can make it work. So I'm going to go to my Power BI file, new measure, and this is going to be my active employees measure. Okay, now here it shows just errors, but that is just naming issues, right? So over here, we can do a count on the employee ID, or I could also say count rows and then the employee table. So let's see if I have a similar column, so employee, and then we have employee name, employee number. Okay, so let's go for employee number. Okay, so that's good. Then we continue over here. Now, every time we have employees, that doesn't work. So let's select all of them. So Control-Shift-L, and then my data model. In my data model, it's called employee, this table, not employees. Okay, so that fixes that part. Then it checks over here the hiring date. Now I don't have a hiring date. I have a hire date. Okay, and then here the termination date is the contract ending date. So let me also adjust that. Okay, and my calendar is called dim date. Okay, so I just make all of these adjustments first to see if there's any obvious error. Okay, but that seems to be all right. Now let's have a look at the logic. So our function starts with a calculate function to modify the filter context, which is necessary, is good. Then here the expression itself, that is the count on employee numbers. There's only one employee row, one row for each employee. So we can do that, or we could also change it to count rows on the employee table, but this is fine. And then we have here the filter function that lets us modify the filter that gets applied to our expression over there. And this is probably where it goes wrong. So over here we have the first argument employee. Now we still need to adjust that in a second, but let's see what it tries to do. Then it wants to iterate over the employee table and only keep the rows where the hiring date is equal to or lower than the maximum dim date. So the maximum date within the filter context. So for example, here for Q1, that would be the 31st of March 2019. So the hiring date needs to be before. So that is actually really good. And for it to be an active employee, the contract ending date needs to be blank. Okay. Or the contract ending date needs to be after the last date within the filter context. Well, that's actually impressive that it takes both into consideration, especially this one is blank, employee contract end. Of course, I tried this example before and generated a little bit of a different code. Every time it's a bit different. And then it did not take this into consideration. So I'm quite impressed. And that's it. Okay, now if we make just a little adjustment here at the first argument, because here for this to work, we still need to wrap the employee table inside of all or all selected to remove any filter that gets applied to the employee table first. Okay, and once we have this, let's see if it works. I'm going to add it to our matrix visual. You see, starts to accumulate. Yeah, perfect, now it works. So we just needed to do one little adjustment, which I think is very impressive. So to be able to get so close, just like with the M code before, just a little bit of adjustment was necessary. But also here, kind of the same story. To be able to make that adjustment, you do need DAX knowledge. And it is not so easy to spot where it went wrong if you're just starting off with Power BI. Okay, now this also goes in a similar direction as quick measures, right? Now we also have the ability there to write our question or our instruction and generate different measure alternatives. So that's kind of going in a similar direction. Now the advantage that quick measures, of course, has is that it knows your data. And this OpenAI tool, ChatGPT, doesn't. So time for a conclusion. Am I gonna quit this Power BI YouTube channel? Maybe just not yet. I think these AI tools are super impressive, and every time they got us to almost the correct answer. Almost. But to tweak it, you still needed a little bit of DAX knowledge, a little bit of AMP knowledge, and I still think I can provide a bit of value there. And that's the same for the design part. Also there, it wasn't perfect. But I do think that if this is where we are now, and over the next 5 to 10 years, this gets even more integrated, Power BI with all of these different AI tools, well, then our role might change a bit. Now, I'm curious to hear your thoughts about this topic. Put it in the comment section below. And if you like this video, then make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and check out one of my other videos over here. Now, I want to thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.